And I think, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
It's bullshit.
And
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend. And you have people like Trump, who has incited violence against people like me, and so these people are full of shit.
Typically, Republicans are saying that Democrats too often have referred to them as Nazis, dictators. Is that the kind of rhetoric that you think there should be less of, or do you think that criticism is misplaced?
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, today I'm going to continue my coverage of some of the reactions of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Made a quick video last night of AOC and her immediate comments. Now, AOC spoke again today, y'all. She spoke again today, and I'm going to have her comments at the very, very end after I do my sign off. You saw there, one of the reporters asked her, hey, what about y'all saying people are Nazis and stuff? Do you think that might be contributing? Okay, a lot of people are like, hey, y'all have been saying people are dictators, people are Nazis, people are authoritarian. So might that be contributing to a climate of political violence? So you're going to see how AOC answers that at the end of the video. But first, what we're going to do, y'all, we're going to take a look at Ilhan Omar, okay? Ilhan Omar today, she did an interview where the topic of Charlie Kirk came up. And you're going to see, so I've been seeing some of the clips go around on X. And the problem is that they'll only show you the clip that looks the worst for her, like I did in my coming up, okay? But this video is going to show you a more full-bodied, a more balanced version of what she said. She was empathetic on one hand, and then on the other hand, she was Ilhan Omar, okay? So you're going to see both sides of the Omar reaction today. This is YouTube, so let me say I'm using these clips under fair use for reaction purposes, for news, for education. I'm educating y'all as to what your representatives in Congress have to say. And also I'm going to show a few other clips of what other people had to say. Pritzker out of Chicago, he had his reaction, and also Elizabeth Warren. So y'all, I'm not going to do my typical gold commercial. Y'all already know. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into Pritzker first, and then we'll go to Omar, then we'll go to Elizabeth Warren, and at the very end, we'll go to AOC. So let's jump right into it.
Concerns about political violence in the week of what happened today in Utah, the activist Charlie Kirk being shot.
Yeah, first I want to express my sympathy to Charlie Kirk's family and to Charlie Kirk, who obviously has, become a target for somebody. I don't know whether it's political violence because I don't know who did it. I know they seem to have somebody in custody. But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence. And the president, what did he do? He pardoned them. I mean, what kind of signal does that send to people who want to perpetrate political violence? Not a good one.
Governor, this may be hard to know, but
So what you're gonna notice with almost everybody, if not all of these reactions, y'all, is that they all mention gun control, gun laws. If only we could put some kind of, y'all, did that help Martin Luther King? Did that help Malcolm X? Did that help John F. Kennedy? Did that help Robert Kennedy? I mean, listen, am I saying that there shouldn't be any gun control? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But the type of gun control that they're talking about, hey, let's not let people who are mentally unstable buy a gun. Well, there are already over 300 million guns in the United States of America. There are already over 300 million guns. Anybody who wants to commit a crime like this can get their hands on a gun already. So while I'm not saying that the idea of, oh, if we could only control the guns, this would stop. Of course. I mean, if you could just poof, magically make all the guns disappear, but you can't. And also, you also have to think about timing. My whole thing is, why not, let's do the obituary. You know what you do when you do somebody's obituary when they just died? You say the nice things about them. That's what you say first. You say all the things that they did that positively impacted you, all of the things that they did that positively impacted society, their family, their community. You say all of those things first, right? So nobody wants to go to the funeral and read off all of the things that this person did to get on their nerves, right? Unless they're joking. But typically in your obituary, we put your best foot forward first. Then with time, once the wounds start to heal, we get that more complex conversation about your legacy. So that's my position. I will go on record to say I'm aware of who Charlie Kirk is. I've heard a lot of what he said, right? And just like anybody, right? Charlie Kirk has had some takes, some positions that will stand the test of time. And he's also, I'm sure, gone wrong. But the time when someone is freshly passed and you give their obituary, usually you want to focus, when they are an impactful person, you usually want to focus on their good. And then again, with the week, as the weeks and the months go, the wounds start to heal. Then that full picture, it's easier for people to handle the more complex conversation about some of the more difficult things that person said and did. And Charlie Kirk, like all of us, has said and done some difficult things. Let's go ahead and jump into Ilhan Omar and hear her first reaction, y'all. This is not the Omar reaction. This is the empathetic Omar reaction.
The killing of Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist, provocateur, killed in Utah yesterday. What was your reaction when you heard that news yesterday?
It was really mortifying to hear the news, to see the video. You know, all I could think about was his wife, his children. That image is going to live forever. You know, my husband has known the daughters of Malcolm, and they have talked to him about, you know, what being in person for their dad's execution meant to them, and
Malcolm X back in the 60s.
Malcolm X, yes. What that trauma has meant for them, and you know, decades later, they still carry that trauma, and so my heart does break for those babies.
But it wouldn't be Ilhan Omar if she didn't spice it up, get controversial, and you already know. You know, no further lead-in necessary. Let's jump into it.
What I do know for sure is that, you know, Charlie was someone who once said, you know, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country by saying Juneteenth should never exist. And I think, you know, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, you know, like than to completely pretend that, you know, his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so. And you know, you have people like Nancy Mace who constantly harass, you know, people that she finds inferior and wants them not to exist in this country or ever. And you know, you have people like Trump who has incited violence against people like me. And so, you know, these people are full of shit, and it's important for us to call them out while we feel anger and sadness and have empathy, which Charlie said, no, it shouldn't exist because that's a newly created word or something. Like, I have empathy for his kids and his wife and what they're going through, because
same.
I do not want
No
that.
one should go through that, and we hold ourselves, I hope, to higher standards.
So of course, Ilhan Omar. What else would you expect from her? Omar, right? She calls people dummies. She calls people idiots. She calls people this and that. And I guess she's not going to change for anybody at the moment. One more politician reacting before we get to AOC. This is what Elizabeth Warren had to say. She looked like she was truly shaken up. But mind you, like, people have to, for some reason, they have to inject gun control into every gun death. And I get it. I mean, I get the concept. It's just the timing. And Elizabeth Warren is going to talk about that. But I do think it is the timing. And it also is the method. Like, again, some of the places with the strictest gun laws have some of the highest gun deaths. Let's see what Elizabeth Warren had to say.
Violence is never the answer. This is just wrong. And my heart goes out to his family, to his friends. But we just cannot be a country that turns to violence when we disagree with people. We just can't.
What can Congress do about it, Senator?
Well, one thing Congress can do is gun safety. And every time there's a killing, the Republicans say this is not the time to talk about gun safety. And yet we have to. As a nation, we have more gun deaths than most other nations, and we don't keep our children, our friends, our neighbors safe by just putting ordinary gun safety rules in place.
So y'all, honestly, I think that the Democratic side, I think they were, among the politicians, I think these people were really affected. I've seen people on social media celebrating and so on and so forth. Okay, but I'm talking about the people, the elected officials. I think a lot of them were shaken up. If for no other reason than they see a family man, they know his family's left, as Ilhan Omar said, his family's left without him. And also they see that, oh shoot, I could be touched like that. See, your average TikToker, nobody knows who they are, nobody cares who they are. But these people in Congress, they see, oh, okay, like this is what's happening out there. So I think they have an additional reason to have an emotional reaction, because this is personal for them, much more so than some random dude on TikTok who nobody cares about. So y'all, let me know what y'all think about my take. I think, again, this is the obituary. We are at the obituary phase of this, which is where you, generally speaking, you remember somebody for the good they've done, for the way that they positively impacted you, for maybe their quirks, for maybe a way that they helped you, or a way that their funny little smile or laugh. Those are the types of things that you typically get when somebody just passed away. Then over the weeks and months after they're laid to rest, the full picture, that's when you start to discuss, oh, okay, yeah, this person's gone, but don't forget this and don't forget that. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. So I certainly don't think anybody is a saint. I think we should all be able to discuss our faults and our flaws, but I just think it's a question of timing and being sensitive. Y'all let me know what you think about that down in the comments. Y'all do like this video, do subscribe to the channel if you are not a subscriber. Share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all of your favorite social mediums. And y'all, I love y'all. Thanks for watching. Now we'll get into AOC's comments from today. Let's take a look.
Living in a time of extraordinary and growing political violence in the United States. I mean, we were on these steps here on January 6th when a mob attacked this Capitol. Just a couple of months ago, a Democratic lawmaker was assassinated in her own home. Yesterday, Charlie Kirk assassinated in broad daylight in front of thousands of people. It really, at this point, is not about like the political stripe. This is about the emergence and uncorking of violence that we're talking about, and it is absolutely gotten to a point that is where we need to really look towards our leaders to lower the temperature and also lead by, I believe, in my view, ensuring that we have gun safety and laws against violence in the book.
Congresswoman, yesterday the president.
Profile member of
Pardon?
Do you feel safe on Capitol Hill?
From the moment I was elected, I have felt that I accept a certain level of risk in doing this job and in continuing to do this job. This should not be a level of risk for anyone, not for me or anybody, any American. No American should feel like they are taking a risk sending their kid to school. No American should feel like they are at risk going to a music festival, going to a synagogue, going to a church, or showing up to work. And I think that I feel the way I think many Americans feel.
Congresswoman, yesterday the president and his speech, he was very critical of left-wing violence. What do you think of that message, and do you agree with them that left-wing violence is a problem?
I believe that we need to be very clear about the facts of the ground. There was a horrific political assassination or shooting yesterday in which a young man died. The FBI has not caught the assailant. The FBI and the individual responsible has not been apprehended. There is no understanding, as we know publicly, of who this individual is, what their motivations were, where they came from. And for any politician, whether it's a pundit on television, which I saw on Fox News, and it was extremely disturbing, using rhetoric of vengeance and violence, whether it is a member of Congress, whether it is the President of the United States, to assume and assert and cast blame when the FBI has failed to even apprehend the assailant is absolutely an irresponsible action. We must come together. Our responsibility is to de-escalate this environment, to reduce the level of chaos that is at risk right now in this country, so that we can first and foremost increase the level of safety that people can feel in this country. And then we can move forward together.
Follow up on that. Specifically, Republicans are saying that Democrats too often have referred to them as Nazis, dictators. Is that the kind of rhetoric that you think there should be less of, or do you think that criticism is misplaced?
I believe that if we want to stop the scourge of violence in this country, we must do our jobs and pass common sense gun safety reforms in the United States. Period.
What do you think about the use of the word Nazi?
And here's what I believe. Because, to be honest, we are in an environment of escalated rhetoric, but a person who hears this rhetoric should not be able, if they have a history of domestic violence, if they have a history of descending into what seems to be, a violent spiral, should not have access to a gun. And the idea that one would weaponize this environment when people are able, in some states, to get a gun who should not. This is not about taking away people's right to a firearm. It's about ensuring that we have responsible gun laws in the United States of America. And anything else is a deflection. I'm sorry, it simply is. Because we want to talk about arguing about rhetoric. I mean, people can point the finger till the cows come home, especially in this place. But the fact of the matter is, we should not have the right. We shouldn't have an environment where people can so easily mow down others when they have a mental break, when they have a history, or whatever we may be seeing. A lot of what we've seen in this recent shooters have been emotionally disturbed and mentally disturbed people.
What roles do tech platforms